Hey, beautiful people of the internet, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully great, and welcome back to some Warframe. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about what are the best prime frames to get during the last days of the Prime Resurgence event. Now, if you guys didn't know, on the 25th of January, this particular event will be coming to a close, and we will no longer be able to go and farm prime frames in bulk. So I hope everybody was able to go and farm prime frames since last year till now. And one thing I do want to say is that everybody will probably turn around and tell you is, why not go after all the prime frames? And as much as decent advice that is, it obviously could be better. Because when I see a bunch of frames out there that will go up in price and will definitely be selling for a good amount of platinum, I will obviously be making a video, because at the end of the day, who doesn't want platinum? Because who doesn't want to buy skins? Who doesn't want to have fun in Warframe? And also, fashion frame is endgame. And of course, if you guys would like to buy some merch, head to links down in the description. And of course, we'll be doing some shoutouts over on our social media platforms. And of course, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Warframe videos. Without further ado, let's get this video on the road, shall we? So starting off, our number one spot is we have Sarin, aka the Spore Queen herself. Now Sarin is a nuking Warframe that has a good amount of self-sustainability. If you guys would like to know how to build her correctly, head to links down in the description, and of course I'll be suggesting that particular video to you guys at the top right, so go ahead and take a look at it. So what makes Sarin so good is the fact that she can spread a lot of corrosive and a lot of viral. And if you guys didn't know, corrosive and viral are very good when it comes to taking out armored units or any unit in general, because viral is the best element out there as of the current state of the game. Now, one thing I do want to mention is what makes nuking frames so good is they're very fun to play as, because who doesn't want to feel so overpowered as the main character in the game? Another thing is that nuking frames are very good at, gaining a lot of XP when it comes to farming a ton of focus, and when it comes to farming a lot of regular XP, such as ranking up your frames, and also maxing out your operator can be another thing. Now, if you guys would like to avoid the toxic Eidolon community, Sarin is actually a very good alternative. The only problem is that it takes a very long time. Unfortunately, there is a daily cap on how long it takes to farm all these XP, so there is that. Sarin is a very long process, but if you would like to rely on yourself, you can't go wrong with her. And of course, she'll be going up for a lot of platinum because of the fact that she is very useful for everyday Warframe, because at the end of the day, Warframe is a heavily farm based game. Moving on to our number 2 spot is we have Ashe, aka the assassin of Warframe. Now, if you guys are a huge anime fan like myself, Ashe is actually the perfect frame out there to channel your inner weeb. And other than actually channeling your inner weeb, Ashe is actually a very powerful Warframe out there, just because not only does he do like a ton of finisher damage, which is actually the most powerful damage type in the game, but also he can easily strip enemy armor without worrying about too much, rendering enemies a lot more weaker, and enemies can take a lot more damage. Therefore, you can just immediately nuke any level enemies whatsoever, as long as you guys go and have the Seeking Shuriken augment equipped. Now, when it comes to an execution build, you basically need to have this augment called Lethal Teleport or Fatal Teleport, and what it does essentially is, not only does your finisher damage deal a lot more damage, but also you'll be able to get a portion of your energy back. And the nice thing is that the execution itself will be automatically triggered, so you don't have to worry about trying to position the enemy in such an angle and hope and pray that your X button does actually get activated or actually does get executed. It's a bit of a pain to continuously walking around and just executing enemies or manually executing enemies. So this particular augment actually makes your life so much easier, and it's very convenient. By you getting your energy back, you can always stay invisible or activate other abilities out there, such as Seeking Shuriken, your smoke screen, or your blade storm, etc. Moving on to our number 3 spot is we have Valkyria, aka the Berserker of Warframe. Now, when it comes to playing as Valkyria, she is actually an extremely underrated Warframe, and here's why. A, she can deal a lot of damage. B, she is very tanky. And C, she is a melee specialist. And what I mean by that is, in Valkyria's kit, she has 2 abilities. One of them is called Hysteria and the other one's called Warcry. So Hysteria is basically, Valkyria goes into this ball of rage, and any form of damage that comes towards her will then be absorbed and she won't take any damage at all. And also she pulls out these claws, which are very powerful. I mean, I one-shot Acolyte because of these claws if you use them correct. Now, when it comes to using Warcry is actually as good as Hysteria. Actually, I think they're both on par with one another, because what Warcry does is, not only does it make you also a lot tankier, but also it increases your attack speed. In other words, the faster your attack speed, the faster your DPS will be. In other words, you guys can go and take a powerful weapon like the Grand Prime or any other heavy weapon that deals a lot of slash, a lot of crit, and you can just go and massacre a ton of enemies. This is very good because, considering that doesn't matter what DE does to these melee weapons, they will always stay top tier just because of the way they work, thanks to mods like Weeping Wounds, Condition Overload. Even though Condition Overload got nerfed like 3 or 4 times, it is still a very versatile mod. Moving on to our number 4 spot, it is Rhino, aka the thick boy of Warframe. Now, Rhino is actually a pretty decent Warframe out there. I wouldn't say he's the best just because of his limitations. So Rhino has a supportive build or supportive ability, and also has a solo playstyle. So his solo playstyle is Iron Skin, and Iron Skin is amazing. You know, it negates all forms of damage and all forms of status. The one downside to Iron Skin is that Rhino teaches you how to not play Warframe. In fact, if you guys get too used to Rhino's Iron Skin, you'll struggle to place frames like Ivaro or even Octavia, which are some of the most powerful frames out there currently. And why I think is that you shouldn't get used to Iron Skin is the fact that because you're not going to be worrying about all the damage and all the status effects that will hit you, you'll get too used to it, and therefore you'll be a very newbie player. So Rhino's still a great frame, but just don't get too used to him. And the one nice thing about Rhino is that he is the best frame when it comes to farming for index, or when it comes to farming some crits, and here's why. So Rhino has this augment called Iron Shrapnel, and what Iron Shrapnel does is basically it allows you to replenish your Iron Skin at any stage of, you know, its active period. So let's say that you've got 2% of your Iron Skin is left and you feel like you should go and replenish it. What you can do is Iron Shrapnel allows you to change it at will. So go and hide somewhere, quickly go and change and replenish it, and then you're back in action. Because the one thing is that Rhino is extremely weak without his Iron Skin. So there is that. And also he has the ability called Roar, which allows you to buff yourself and nearby allies. Roar is very good, especially for Eidolon Hunting, because you need to have a ton of damage when it comes to shooting off the limbs. Moving on to our next spot is we have Necros, aka the Necromancer of Warframe. Hence his name, Necros. So Necros is actually the best farming frame out there just because of the way Desecrate works, the way you build them, and also the tankiness that he has. In fact, you could actually consider him the end game farmer because of the way Shield of Shadows work, and of course building him correctly. Once again, links will be down in the description and they will be suggested. So the way a Desecrate works is simple. If you kill an enemy, Desecrate will then consume that corpse and it will leave behind additional loot. However, if you would like to further optimize Desecrate, you simply have to go and bring yourself a slash based weapon, kill the enemies, and then continuously go and attack the corpse until you cut them into pieces. What this does is essentially there is going to be more pieces for Desecrate to, you know, consume, therefore leaving even more loot than usual. That's why I absolutely love Necros. Not only is he a great farming Warframe, but also Necros absolutely excels at survival based missions, because when you kill an enemy will be Desecrated. That enemy will then be able to leave additional life support capsules out there, allowing you to stay in survival for as long as physically possible. The only downside to him is that Necros is very squishy, and you have to always stay, you know, you always have to pay attention to the health of your minions, and also pay attention to the amount of health you currently have, because there's an augment called Despoil, and what it does is essentially, instead of Desecrate taking away from your energy pool, it'll only take away from your health pool. Don't worry about the health pool so much, because Desecrate, or not Desecrate, Necros' passive allows you to regenerate your health if you kill an enemy that's right next to you. So there is that. Moving on to our number 5 spot, or our final spot, moving on to our number 6 spot is we have Oberon, aka the healer of Warframe, or the OG healer of Warframe. Or honestly, I didn't really have a nickname for him because I absolutely love Oberon. I just couldn't describe like how his playstyle would be, or his Warframe character would be to like anime or TV shows or anything else. So Oberon is basically a very underrated Warframe out there, and here's why. So essentially you could probably call him the best healer in Warframe just because of the way Phoenix Renewal works. So Oberon obviously is a pure supportive Warframe, and his number 4 takes up a lot of energy, but is very good because of the fact that it's able to go and strip armored units. Now You don't use Oberon to go and strip armor, but you do have that as a choice. Now, the great thing about Oberon is the fact that he is able to continuously heal himself and his allies close to him. What's even better is that he can give them around 900 to 800 base armor, somewhere around there, based on how much power strength you actually have on your particular build. Now, what makes Oberon amazing is an augment called Phoenix Renewal, and what it does is that if you guys are killed under the effects of Renewal, by the way, this also does apply to allies, what happens is that Renewal will then give you a second chance at life, and then if you guys do end up dying after Renewal does save your life, what's going to happen is there's going to be this cooldown between 60 to 90 seconds. What you need to do during that period of time is you need to be very careful during that period of time, because you are vulnerable. Nothing special happens, but if you do die, then that is it. So what I recommend you guys do is during that time period of that cooldown, you should just go somewhere and hide and be careful and wait until that cooldown is up. When that cooldown has expired, your second chance at life will then be able to, will then be restored. Therefore, you can always be dying and dying and dying, assuming that you don't die during that cooldown period. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all for today's video. If you guys have liked the video or it's helped you in any way or form, remember to leave a like and don't forget to click the subscribe button for more Warframe videos. I'm gonna make like a banana.